Some people live on the front lines of the struggle between good and evil. Others, like us, bear witness. I'm Therese Abel. You may know me from the cases I've covered as a lifelong crime reporter and the stories I've told about law enforcement and crime across Mississippi. Along with my co-hosts, Nicole Crowell and Amanda Johansson, we've seen both the best and the worst of human nature. We believe there's no greater responsibility than telling the stories of the men and women who pursue the truth, who hunt the monsters, who speak for the victims, and who piece together some of the most significant investigations of our time. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. Hey everybody, welcome to Investigation Homicide. I am Therese Abel, and tonight we're going to talk about some pretty heavy subjects. So let me go ahead and get you started and tell you, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the comments. If you're watching us on Facebook, we'll see it pop up on our screen and we can answer or address your questions or comments. So just letting you know that ahead of time. Tonight I have Amanda Johansson with me. Amanda, welcome.
Hi there. How's everyone?
I mean, just making it right.
Exactly. This weather, it's freezing cold in the morning. I wear my giant puffy jacket. And
Y'all
then
should have
by
seen
midday,
it. She looked like an Eskimo. Like
by midday, I'm like, oh my God, it's so hot.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'll sit in my jacket in my office all day long. And then at some point I'm like, well, I hadn't taken off my puffy jacket all day.
Yeah.
So today we're going to, like I said, hit some heavy subjects. Amanda is no stranger to this. Our guest today, and we're glad to have him, is Jay Houston. He is the director of training for the Child Rescue Coalition. I want to make sure I got that right. Now, Jay, you have been in internet crimes against children for a long time. Tell us about your career. What led you up to here?
Gosh, was in law enforcement for 24 years. So half of my career, I worked for the Attorney General's office, and I either was the Internet Crimes Against Children commander or the alternate commander for 13 years before I retired. And I can tell you this, I know your podcast is Investigation Homicide.
Mm-hmm.
I have never once investigated a homicide, and let me tell you why. When I first graduated the police academy, I went to a call for service FTO program, and there was someone that had passed away in a house, and they had been there for a few days.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew right then, there's no way I'm going to be a homicide investigator. But here's the thing. I am so thankful that you have kind of come out a little bit to the child exploitation to discuss this.
Sure.
And the reason is, this is one of those topics that parents need to hear, cops need to hear, I need to hear because I have children, and we need to get the message out there. Because we do a fantastic job. I'm just going to jump in it. I'm sorry. I'm going to take over your podcast. Yeah. We do a fantastic job of protecting ourselves, like physically. Like, we're in Mississippi. We have guns, or we have, carry laws, and, we have alarms on our homes, and we live in gated communities. And, we do great stuff for our physical security, but none of us, I shouldn't say none, a lot of people have that, or we all have that one line that runs into your house called the internet.
Yeah.
And it opens you up to not just people in your community, but people all over the world. And we don't do one thing to protect our children.
Right.
So I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. We do like to make sure that we hit on important topics that affect our viewers, because it's not just everybody loves a good crime story. Everybody loves to read about a good murder or listen to a podcast about it. But I think on something like this, it is something that not just parents, but all of us, even those of us who don't have kids, need to know is a problem out there. And
Absolutely.
I think that sometimes when you talk about human trafficking or internet crimes against children, things like that, you have skeptics. Mm-hmm. You have those people that are like, yeah, but I mean, they don't believe it could really happen to them or someone they love.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk to us kind of about we know how you didn't become a homicide investigator, but how did you get into this?
Really, I fell into it. This is a true story. You know my old boss, Jean Vaughn. Do you remember Jean? Mm-hmm. God rest her soul. She was the director of the cybercrime division. She ran the cybercrime division. And at the Attorney General's office, attorneys run the divisions, right? So she literally, I knew Jean from years back. She called me up. It's a true story. She asked me if I want to be a 13-year-old girl online.
Yeah.
And I said,
score.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Yeah.
So at the time I was working narcotics for the sheriff's office, and she called me up and literally asked me if I wanted to work what we all now know as an Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force commander. And I said, or investigator. And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. So at the time, if you remember back in that day, the ICAC world, they were doing a lot of undercover chat type stuff. So they were looking for investigators that kind of could speak some lingo, kind of had some narcotics experience, did some undercover type stuff. So I started working there, started in January of 2008, and my whole life changed. Like my whole life changed. And it was just one of those things after you work your first case, you realize what an impact in the community you have. Because when you arrest one of these predators and take them out of that community, you're literally making generational change. So there's a lot of studies out there, and I think you know about the one called the Butner study, where Butner Federal Prison.
I don't know that I've heard of that one.
So there's a friend of mine, Dr. Michael Burke, that did this study in Butner Prison in North Carolina, and at Butner Prison, people that were convicted for collecting child sexual abuse material. Now, what child sexual abuse material? The old term is child pornography.
Right.
That's what the statute says, the Mississippi statute. So now the term is child sexual abuse material.
And some people say CSAM, right?
Yep, CSAM. That's another term for it. How do you know that? Look at you.
I do this.
Yep.
She knows things.
That's right. So Dr. Burke went to the prison, and he worked for HSI, a psychologist for HSI, and he had access, for the prison, federal prison and HSI. And he did a study of people that were convicted for simple collection. They were never, if there was ever any allegations of hands-on abuse, they were excluded from his study, right? So we're only people that were arrested and convicted for collecting images and videos, right? So he did this study, and at the end of his study, it was determined that each person that was convicted for possession or distribution of CSAM had between 50 and 100 hands-on offenses.
Oh, wow.
Yep. You can look it up online, Butner study.
That's insane.
Yep. So when we go arrest these people, that's why I kind of, you can probably see it in me. I'm very passionate about this. I get so excited, especially when investigators email me or call me or message me and say, "Hey man, I made an arrest today." You know, they've been doing this 30 minutes or 30 years, however long they've been doing it. And I just get so excited about it because I know what else that person has done. Because I've sat across from the devil and interviewed them, and they have told me things that they have done to kids.
Sure.
Yes, it's probably, I think, one of the greatest divisions of law enforcement.
Well, I mean, what you guys are doing is truly being protectors. Amanda, you and I have talked about some of this, about having to actually go to that place in your head where you have to either kind of get on their level to talk to them about it, or where you have to put yourself in a place where the revulsion that most of us feel doesn't bother you while you deal with this guy or while you're interviewing them.
Yeah, I know that they are a person that have made poor life decisions.
Absolutely.
To say the least.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of times this stuff is something that is just a desire in them, and so I try and look at it like that. I separate the disgust in the thing that they did, and I just look at it as a bad choice, and everyone makes bad choices, and I want to give them the opportunity to, you know, not really repent, but you know,
kind of explain themselves.
I'm sorry and show remorse for it. And to me, that's kind of what the parents of the victims or the victims themselves, that's kind of what they need for closure. And I mean, they're people too, just don't agree with the things that they do.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well,
when you sit there, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things that I see every day, because on Dark Horse Press we have an ad that says her new best friend is a child predator.
Oh yeah.
And basically, you know, it's from the Child Advocacy Center, and it's got a child that's on the computer. And you know, these kids get on here and they play games, and they get I was about to say they get in chat rooms. That's like when we were babies ourselves. But
Well,
you know,
so
like,
maybe not chat rooms necessarily, but now we have all of those games that have the chat feature. So it is like a chat room. Some of these predators just use roadblocks or whatever else there is out there, not really for the game portion, but just to use it like a chat room. So.
Oh, they're master manipulators.
Yeah.
They're master manipulators.
So if I've got
like, say, a 9-year-old child, 9-year-old girl, and she's like every other 9-year-old girl, and she just got her first cell phone, and she's got a little computer that she plays on after school and all that nonsense. I say that because when I was 9, I mean, I hardly got to watch 30 minutes of TV a day, but so I'm just a normal kid with normal parents. If you could sit down with my mom, what would you warn her
Buy
about?
her a jitterbug. She is 9. Your child is 9. Buy them a jitterbug. Buy them. Man, I have some friends of mine, and their daughter, she was in a lot of activities. She needed a phone, and they literally bought her a phone. Now she's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and she has a phone that she can call 3 numbers. That's it, 3 numbers.
Good for her.
And she showed responsibility with that, right? She showed responsibility with that. So then they got a regular phone, like just a regular flip phone. And she showed responsibility with that device. And then they got her, an iPhone or a smart device about the time that my kids started getting smart devices. And, and we had rules in place. We have rules in place for everything, except when it comes to our kids and what they do with that device. So at a younger age, of course, you're going to limit the amount of time they spend on social media, even if they have social media. Now, also, don't be the parent that never allows their child to have social media. Like the parents that I would talk to, the parents that I would talk to, their son, I remember one particular, their son is graduating high school. He's 18 years old and he's got a flip phone. And his mom is like, I'll never allow him to have social media. It's so dangerous. And I know that and hey, if that's your rule, that's your rule. I'm not here to make rules for your house. But I just knew that young man was going to college the next year. And then he was going to be a little bit behind when it came to technology and need some catch up. But I also don't want you to be the person that doesn't have any rules in place. Their child is in first grade and, learns all the capitals of every state, and you buy them a brand new iPhone 19 or whatever the newest iPhone is, Have some rules in place, have some parameters, check in on them. One of my favorite statements is trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
And when my youngest, when she was 13, we let her have Instagram, right? So Instagram, you could have 5 friends, 5 followers. And it was me and my wife and my other 2 daughters, and I think one of her girlfriends, and it was 5. Yeah. So we allowed that to roll for about 2 weeks, and she stuck with 5. So we said, all right, now you have 10. So and then I looked up one day, and she had like 30.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no, ma'am. So we had to take us a little step back. And we pulled Instagram down. She was grounded from it. So she's grounded from her phone. We took her phone, but what I did was I left it on, and I left it by my bed. So every night I would check that to make sure them little 30 knuckleheads weren't sending something they shouldn't, because, that's what's going to happen. Because where your children are, these predators are going to be. You've got to protect them.
I read something one time where a mother who I think had an incident with her child wrote an op-ed type thing and just said, I would almost rather my child swim in the Nile River with the piranhas than put her on the internet again with the predators. You think it's that big of a deal?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, they are everywhere. And it's not just like creepy old men sitting behind a keyboard. It's other children who are catfishing. It's the people who are scamming for money. So although, yes, today we're talking about the child predators in the sense of like child sex crimes, but this is like spans all kinds of different types of predators, and you just need to be knowledgeable about what your kids are doing.
Sure. Well, and I'll ask a question that I think we have a lot of, women love true crime. Got a ton of women that listen to this podcast, that watch. And so I know that you guys will understand, and some of you guys will too. But let me just say this. I feel like, Amanda, the internet has emboldened a lot of even normal men to think that it's okay to send us pictures of what they have in their pants for no reason. Like we're going to go, ooh, yay. Are we talking about the same kind of thing with kids?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So now instead of dating, or
Yeah.
going. Y'all remember you say going with somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going together. Now it's
Yeah.
talking. But anyway, I mean, now, I mean, we used to call the house and flirt on the phone with the girl and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, send me a nude. What color underwear are you wearing?
Right.
You know, that's flirting now.
And that's what they're doing with the kids too.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Glad I don't have kids.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, they're just like I said, they're master manipulators, master manipulators. And they will tell you, and once they have one even inappropriate photo, it doesn't be a complete nude, even one inappropriate photo, they will then use that photo to force them to take pictures even more inappropriate. And once they have that picture, then they have you. If somebody has an inappropriate photo of you as a child, or if you're 75 years old, if they have that picture of you, they have care, custody, and control of your life because they can send it and they can tell you that they're going to do things. Man, this breaks my heart. This one story right here breaks my heart. Is Walker Montgomery. You know Walker?
Yeah,
Man, that breaks my heart. Starkville Academy kid, 16 years old. Him and his, if I have the story correct, maybe some details, him and his family go eat, or he comes home from school. And if you're listening to this and you have better facts than what I'm fixing to say, or if you know exact, please tell us. Love to see some questions. I don't know if anybody's posting questions. I figured I'd mention it, but so Walker gets home from school. He goes and works out at maybe a home gym or at a gym. Him and his family go eat dinner that night. Everything is wonderful. And this kid, when you look at him, man, he's a good looking dude.
Yeah.
Like he's that, and I have that football picture of him, you know, where he's got the black line. What's it called? Under his eyes.
Black.
And,
Yeah.
And so his family eats dinner. They say their prayers. Mom and dad go to bed. They wake up the next morning and Walker had committed suicide.
Right.
And all because, Walker had been what's called sextortion. He had gotten a picture from, and I'm just putting this together of generally how this goes. He had gotten a picture from a good looking girl.
Yeah.
And the whole time it's one of the Yahoo boys in Nigeria. And, the end result of that was Walker thought his only option was to end his life.
Yeah.
And man, that story, it still gets to me. And the thing is, that is a horrible story. But from that story, other people have gotten redemption and help because they've heard that story. And I hate it for the Montgomery family.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to bring that up because we around the country, we see cases of that where, you have a child or a teenager that doesn't realize what they've gotten themselves into until suddenly it's, well, you're going to send me money or I'm going to post more pictures or whatever like that. How often do we see stuff like that in Mississippi?
Oh,
Yeah.
a lot. If you have a school or a college or really anyone who has breath in their body, we get those types of cases all the time where they genuinely think that they have met someone online, they're in a back and forth relationship typically, and then they start sharing photos back and forth. And like Jay said, once you send that one photo,
That's it.
they're like, okay, now you've sent me this, so now either you're going to give me this amount of money or I'm going to send this picture to all of your followers, all of your, whatever. And a lot of times the people start paying and then they decide to stop paying.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's awful, and it's not just kids. It's adults. People, it's bad.
I can tell you one case real quick is back in the day, we did a lot of internet safety presentations. We would go to schools and civic organizations and, we would anybody that wanted an internet safety presentation, we would go do it. And we'd go some schools and we'd do the whole schools, 6th through 12th grade one day. We'd do 6 different presentations. We'd do the parents at night. We'd talk to them about internet safety. Well, one of the presentations, at the end of one of the presentations, a kid came to us and she said, look, my best friend, I am surprised she's at school today because I thought she's going to kill herself last night. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, she's been talking to somebody on a specific app, and she sent them a nude, and now they're sextorting her, and they told her to kill herself. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah. So we went and got with the principal, and we got the girl into the principal's office, and got the parents there, told them, and I ended up taking over her account, right?
Good. Yeah.
So I logged in as her. Of course, I changed the password so she couldn't get in it.
Mhm.
I logged in as her, and y'all, I'm telling y'all, as soon as school was out, I think it got out like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
At 3:01, I'm logged into this girl's social media account. Ding, my phone dings. I look at it, I said, oh, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, what are you doing? And they said, hey, what are you doing? And I typed out, hey.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, call me, FaceTime me, send me some pictures, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I'm with my mom. I'm going shopping. We'll put something on, take a picture. And I was like, no, I can't do it with my mom. And then the bullying started coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, you're going to send me a picture, or I'm going to send all these pictures. And man, they think they're talking to a 15 or 16-year-old girl. They didn't
Right.
know that they were talking to an adult man investigator. And I am manipulating them. They are dying.
Yeah.
They are threatening me, thinking they're threatening her. And I'm like, you don't want a picture of me. Send me a picture now. I said, you want a picture? This is a true story. You want a picture? Yeah, send it now. So I took a picture of my badge and my credentials, and I sent them to them. And I said, you have 24 hours to turn yourself in.
Good. Did they turn themselves in?
No, we got warrants for them, and we had to go to Illinois and pick them up. But
Right.
yeah, man, it's such a volatile situation.
Yeah.
Look, if you're listening to this and you're in a situation right now where this might be your story, or your kid's friend's story, or somebody you know's story, man, please let somebody know.
Yeah.
Please go grab that kid.
And what I've found too is that there aren't many. I mean, really, when you think about it, we don't hear a lot of stories of people who they're out there, but who have had those photos sent to everyone they know.
Absolutely.
Like it's a threat that is made,
Mhm.
but you don't hear of it happening very often. So don't be afraid. If that is you, everyone's made mistakes. Don't be afraid to go to the cops,
No,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are apps out there. So, we want you to go to law enforcement. I think we have made that clear. We want you to go to law enforcement, but let's be realistic. Not everybody's going to. The comeback from that is, if a picture, an inappropriate photo has been sent to the school and everybody, there are apps out there now where you can put somebody's face on a body.
Oh, yeah.
And, I've talked to several parents that, quote unquote, and I'm air quoting right now, know someone that this has happened to. And I said, look, just tell them you wish you looked that good, or
Right.
it was that big, or
Yeah.
whatever. You're in that good a shape. And pretty much that whole thing's going to go away.
Right.
So,
Right. So when you think about that aspect of it, the AI or the ability to Photoshop is what we used to call it.
Yep.
How as a parent do you protect your kids from that? Because right now everybody's meeting everybody online.
Nothing you do.
Okay.
Nothing you can do. You can instill values into your children that says, you are not going to do this. I can't control what other children are going to do,
Yeah.
but you're not going to do this. And if this happens, you need to let me know.
Right. So I'm going to look at Amanda when I ask this, but I think, Jay, that you're probably going to need to answer this too. So what do you tell a mom who has a teenage son? Because I'm not trying to hurt you mamas, but I think you've been a single woman at one point too. Men can be pushy. Teenage boys can be pushy, and they don't understand that they are being pushy. So some of this may be happening in ways that it's not ill intent. It's just a pushy teenage boy. How do you protect your son from that?
Well, I think that, like Jay said, instilling the values in your children. And I don't know that I really have an answer specific for like the internet type of stuff, but I deal with a lot of kids who have, maybe consensual sex, and the parents are upset about it, and they're all of age, whatever. And you have to explain to the children that, like, for the males, once you reach a certain age, like, technically, if the parents want to try and pursue something, they could. Like, you don't get to make that choice for yourself. Like, you have to protect yourself, because all the girl has to do is say, I didn't want to. And then the boy is looking at years of fighting something that could have been, what is the word? Avoided is the word I was looking for. Avoided. You know, maybe they broke up or he did something that she didn't like, and now all of a sudden she's like, I didn't want to. So they throw out the R word, and but I don't know about, like, specifically for the internet, how you tell the boys to
how do you
not be pushy.
as a teenage boy, what is it that scares you enough to understand that you can't do that?
Period. You can't do it.
Right.
You can't. So here's the way the law's written. Under the age of 18, sexually explicit photo is a felony. 17 years and 364 days old.
Yeah.
If you take a nude photo of yourself or sexually explicit photo of yourself, that is a felony.
Wow.
If you send it, that is a felony. The person that receives it, that is a felony.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So you have all these felonies going around, right? You're just throwing out felonies because kids, we know this, are taking these images. That's why it is so important. And look, cops don't have time, or excuse me, ICAC does not have time to work age-appropriate photos, right? When I say age-appropriate, boyfriend and girlfriend, they in that love, you know what I'm talking about? That they a junior in high school, they are in love, right? And they're going to wait till marriage, but they're going to send some pictures, because they in love.
Right.
Then they're going to go to college, and you know what's going to happen.
They're going to fall in love with somebody else.
Love with somebody else, and then you're going to have these photos that are floating around, and at some point, those photos are going to get sent. And they're walking around with all of these, felonies on their phone, and it's like, God, please just use your head on this.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back. Let's think about in terms when we were in school. Now, I knew someone, y'all see America quote again, whose uncle had a Playboy magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew someone that took it to school. And what did they do? They showed every boy that they could, every picture in that Playboy magazine.
Right.
Every kid, every boy in the school saw it, right? What do you think these boys are doing that are walking around with these pictures on their phone? They're doing the same thing.
They're trophies.
Yep,
that's what it is.
exactly
They are
right.
trophies. And even if you can't convince the kids, like, what happens if y'all break up? Oh, no, we would never.
Never.
Well, instead, just change it to what happens if your phone gets hacked, or what happens if your phone gets lost
Great
and someone
point.
Right.
Just a maybe this is a possibility. I know that y'all are in love and you're going to be together forever.
Forever.
But what if your phone gets hacked?
Right. What if his best friend takes his phone and thinks it'd be funny to send your picture?
Exactly. Yeah. You gotta talk to them in terms of, like, their reality instead of what we understand as reality.
That is a great point.
You're in junior high. You may not be together forever. I hope you are. Hope this is true love.
Hope you crazy kids make it.
Right.
Well.
But this is a possibility.
Well, and so we're talking about things that you can kind of control because, we're talking two parents right now. But there are going to be times that there are things you can't control. You guys have investigated some things, I'm sure, where the victims weren't, say, two teenagers in love, where it's actually a child who's being exploited by an adult who may be a trafficker, who may be something like that. What do parents and other people need to know about that?
Oh, man, get those devices and look at them. No matter what app they're using, just get those devices and look at them. Put those jokers next to you during, supper or whatever, and look at them.
So one thing that you hear about sometimes, I hear about it in, like, marriages where somebody's cheating. But some people get an iPad and they tether it to the phone. So you get your child an iPhone, you tether the iPad to the iPhone, and you can watch everything they're doing.
Yep.
Is that something you would tell parents to do?
I mean, you do whatever. We all children are different. Some may have that little mischievous child. Some might have that, rib of Jesus Christ child, the one that'll never do anything wrong, right? Like, legitimately.
That was me.
Yeah,
obviously.
of course. You know your children. And, you know, if you don't teach them how to use these devices and you don't teach them how to act and you don't give them a firm foundation and rules, somebody else is going to do it. And it's probably going to be some adult male living in his mama's basement who's never had a job and is a convicted sex offender and is on Roblox, or insert, I said Roblox because you did, insert social media app. Because it's we get asked this all the time. Is Snapchat bad?
Oh,
Yeah.
my
Is
goodness. Snapchat is
Instagram
horrible.
bad?
Right.
It's such and such bad. And it's like, look, it's not the app, it's your behavior.
Right.
These apps could care less about us. They could care less about us. Did you hear about Roblox? And
Not
the guy,
recently.
the YouTuber, I think his name is Sphere. It's like mid 2025. He's a real big YouTuber. I think it's Sphere. I could have that wrong. Put it in the chat box if I'm wrong.
Right. If you're watching and you know who that is. Yeah.
So he was essentially, he's a big YouTuber, and he was a vigilante on Roblox, and he was setting up these guys thinking they were meeting kids. Well, Roblox found out about it, and they sent him a cease and desist order. They told him, seriously,
wow.
he is doing everything he can to protect kids on Roblox because there's 75 million users a day, and it's generally kids or child predators.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was doing this vigilante stuff and identifying these child predators, and Roblox said, you can't do that on our platform, kicked him off. Sent him a cease and desist order. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's
Come on now.
like, whose side are you on?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we just have case after case after case after case where someone was on an app or doing something they shouldn't be doing to exploit children, and we would get a case on them. We go investigate them. We go put them in prison. Just hundreds and hundreds.
Well, and so as a child, well, as a parent of a child who may or may not be dealing with something like this, what do you look for in your kid that might tip you off that this is happening? If you're, say you're checking the phone and everything seems fine and you maybe don't know where to look, how can you tell from what your child is acting like?
Well,
Can I point something out?
yeah.
Look at Amanda's phone. See how sitting face up?
Yeah.
I was about to say, when they're protective of their phone.
Yeah.
If your child comes home, or there's yours right there, it's face up. Mine's over there, face up.
Yep.
If you got a child that normally would have that phone face up, and all of a sudden they start being shady, start flipping it over, or you have a spouse.
Yeah.
I
you
mean,
know, with your
just-
spouse. Yeah.
There's a change of behavior. There's a change of behavior. And that's what you pay attention to. Just pay attention to those changes in behavior. One change of behavior for a week, they may be in a bad mood, whatever. Or for me and my wife, I might have made her mad, and she's not calling me as much as she normally does. You know what I mean? Because I made her mad and done something stupid, of course. And, when it comes to kids, you start paying attention. If they go to their room, if they're usually out in the living room and they go to their room, they just stay there all the time, and that's not their normal behavior, you need to go figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so you read about like kids that may be feeling threatened or whatever like that, their actual behavior changes. They start to be more withdrawn. They start to be, different things like that. Is there a checklist that a parent can look at that'll kind of get, or is it?
No, people have tried to say, oh, you need to look for A, B, C, and D. And if all of these things are there, then it's got to be exploitation or trafficking or whatever. There is no checklist because, like Jay said, every child is different.
Right.
And so you might have the star athlete that on the outside is, outgoing and, straight A's and whatever. And then the next day you find out that that was just a mask. So it really takes a parent being present and knowing their child and paying attention to what they're doing. You need to know the passwords on their social media. Don't allow them to change the passwords. Maybe have it connected to your email, not a child's email. So many of these kids will download Snapchat when they're at school, and then they delete it before they get home.
Yep.
Well, there is a way to check and see recently downloaded. You kind of have to learn to be an Apple genius or something to know the sneakiness of the phones that these kids are using, the devices that they're using, so that you are a step ahead. When they think that they know what they're doing, you're like, Mama wasn't born yesterday.
Right.
Got 'em.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so you talk about that. I was sitting there thinking when I was in high school, like the sneaky thing that we did was I would have a shirt that my dad didn't like.
I knew you
And
were
he
going to
would
say
be like,
that.
go
I
put
knew
some
that's
clothes
so
on,
funny.
you know? And I'd be like, I do have clothes on. And we'd have that fight. So I'd go change, but I'd stick it in my book bag and I'd
Yep.
change when I got to school. Like that's what we did.
Yep.
Now it's downloading Snapchat. And I mean, I say as a single woman, if I am talking to a guy who wants to use Snapchat, he's out. That's it. Like I'm not using Snapchat. If you can't text me like a grown up, we're not doing it.
No.
And kids are a little different. I mean, things have novelty, but can you basically say that when they're using these apps that erase the message history, that's a little more dangerous than texting?
Absolutely. I'm telling you right now, if I send a text message to my children, it is about a 50-50 shot on if I get a response.
Yeah.
Probably more 25% that I'm getting a response.
Yeah.
Unless it has to do with I put some money in your account or something like that. Then, they're going to respond back immediately. But if I send them a Snapchat, instantaneous, I get that response back. And that's where your kids are. And if that's where your kids are, you need to be there.
Right.
Right? You need to be there.
Well, isn't there a way, and it's been a few years since I've been on Snapchat, isn't there a way to see on Snapchat who they're talking to the most?
Yes.
Yeah. Those I think that they are actually ranked or like they're listed based off of the people that you talked to most recently.
No.
You have the streaks and things. I remember, so I worked at Richland and I got a case and it involved Snapchat. I knew nothing about Snapchat. I literally had to talk to one of the kids at school, and I was like, "What does the flame mean?
Right.
What is this?" And it was then that I realized I was old.
Yep.
But like all the little symbols and stuff mean stuff. You as a parent need to know what that stuff means. And like Jay said, if that's what your kids are using, you need to use it. And the more you use it, the more you know how it works. But there are settings that you can change in it that it keeps all the messages.
Right.
By default, I think it deletes them.
Just watch a little YouTube video.
Yeah.
Just watch a little YouTube video
Right.
and learn how to use this stuff. And that'll be a good time for you and your kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ask them how to use it. See if they're going to tell you the truth.
Yep.
Right.
Or-
Well, and one thing, so when we all first sat down, I told Jay that what we wanted to do was to go ahead and just kind of talk about what's out there, what is actually happening in the real world of the internet. And he said, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
And truth be told, yes, we're sure. So in that vein, you guys know we have never sugarcoated anything on Investigation Homicide. So I'm going to talk to you as parents. It's easy to come home and be tired from work and pick up your phone and you're right here. You're just in it because maybe you're checking the news or maybe you're, just trying to unwind from your day. But I have friends that don't know their kids. They're not taking the time to get to know their kids, and they're not taking the time especially to get to know what their kids are doing. And that is when your kid is in trouble, not just because they can sneak around on their phone or otherwise, but because there is a hole in their life that's not being filled by their parent. And is that something that you see in these investigations, is that the child is just looking for somebody to pay attention to them?
Yeah. Nope. And it's the same thing back when we were kids. You always had that one kid that wanted to go, partying or, do something with the older kids because they were a little bit more mature. And, you still have all this. The thing is that you just have to be cognizant of what's going on. And look, if you're a parent and you're listening to this, and I'm looking dead at the camera right now because I really mean this, and honestly, you do a self-evaluation and you have bombed it, it's not too late.
Yeah.
Just go in there, take them a glass of milk and some freaking Cheez-Its or whatever. And, I know my daughter's love language, Cheez-Its and milk.
Yeah.
Just do something for them and get back involved. And if you find that your child is 16, 17, and you haven't been involved quite as much with the phones and the devices and checking and stuff, and you want to, just don't go snatch it out of their hand and go, I'm going to go check because, I heard some people on the podcast or heard something. Excuse me, I keep saying podcast. I heard some people talking about it today, and I'm going to just go sit down with them and have a good conversation with them and start there. You got to start somewhere. And because there have been seasons in my life, even though this is my job, this is what I did, where I freaking bombed it,
Well, I think that's part of being a parent is the trial and error
Yep.
in some cases.
Yep. So
think sometimes you need to start on a positive note.
yeah,
Like, don't wait until your kid has done something where you have to try and punish them. Start by saying, "Hey, today I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about Snapchat and something about a flame. What is that? Tell me about it. Do you
Mhm.
have Snapchat?" And also, I know I just asked a whole bunch of yes/no questions, but ask
No, officer. What are you talking
ask open-ended questions so that they can't respond with, I don't know, fine,
Mhm.
okay. Like, actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
And have it start out with a positive. Make fun of yourself for not knowing something and have your kid teach you something. They might be more I'm having trouble with words today.
It's been a long day.
Yep.
They would be more likely to come to you in the future because they remember that one time when mom came to me and didn't know anything about Snapchat. Like, what
Yeah.
a loser. He's so old, you know?
Well, yeah, and also think about yourself as a kid. You know, as grown-ups, we have this retrospect. We can look back and we can see things our parents did where they were trying to protect us. And I think the most important thing my dad did was he never tried to be the cool dad. You know, and he was a prosecutor and a pastor at one point. And I remember I was in high school. This is always an awkward story, but I'm going to tell it. I was in high school and we would, I think I've told it on the podcast before, we would get these suckers at the basketball games. They sold blow pops at the concession stand. And all the little junior high girls would go get our blow pops and we'd walk along and we'd look up in the stands for our friends while we ate these blow pops. I never thought a thing about it. But one night my dad came to a basketball game and he saw me and he stood up and he said, "You," and he's pointing at me from the top of the bleachers, "Get up here." And so I walked up the bleachers and he said, "You sit down." And I was like, "Okay." And I looked at him like, What are we doing? He's like, "You're going to sit right here till you're done with that blow pop." And I was like, "Why?" And he said, "Just
Wow.
finish it right here." And I was like, "Well, my friends are down there." And he's like, "You're not leaving as long as you're eating that blow pop." And I had no idea what that was about. And at some point I said, "Dad, what?" And he said, I just know what boys think.
Yep.
And you're going to stay right here until you're done with that, or you can throw it away." At that point I was like, "Fine." And I threw it away and I went back down and like I was the one without a blow pop. Years later, literally probably decades later, I thought about that and went, "Oh,
My
Dad."
parents
And-
aren't so dumb.
Yeah.
Are they?
And all of a sudden I was like, he was protecting me from looking like what, I mean, as a prosecutor,
Sure.
I mean, his thought was, you know, some of the sex workers that he had to prosecute, their killers or their rapists or things like that. Like he saw something that, because, you know, the sex workers sometimes would walk around on the
Yep.
streets with a blow pop.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing. That's what he saw as someone, as we all know, when you've worked too
A
close
child
to
being
crime.
seductive.
Yeah.
When it
When
wasn't,
you've worked
yeah.
too close to crime, you see things differently, and he was trying to protect me. So even if your kid is like, "What, Mom? Gah,"
Mm-hmm.
20 years later, they're going to be like, "My mom just wanted to protect me," you know, or Dad.
Yeah.
So, okay, what's next? Amanda, what else do we need to warn parents about while we're being scary?
Oh gosh. I don't know, Jay. What have you been seeing like recently?
Oh gosh. So in my introduction, retired in 2021, went to work for a computer forensics company where we processed image and videos and allowed the forensic examiners to look at that. And then went to work. I've always been involved with Child Rescue Coalition since 2008 when I first started in this. So in 2023, they called me and asked me, they had finally grown so much that they needed a training director. Now, we have technology for cops to use. We teach law enforcement all over the world how to use this technology. And some of my coworkers, the stuff that they come up with about where these predators are and languages that they're using and systems to put together, and hey, let's look at our data in this lens instead of this way. The stuff, they're so smart. So a lot of the stuff that we have been doing again in these technologies is like a lot of apps that I can't name. Law enforcement are in these apps and are discovering these groups. There's one called 764. You've probably heard of this. You can do a lot of Googling and stuff. So the news media is not going to paint the picture of the members of these groups. these guys, I don't know if there's a punishment severe enough for some of them with the stories that I've heard and stuff that they've told kids, like self-mutilation, um, um, sex with animals, essentially having that dominion and control over their lives and forcing them to do things. And man, I hate a bully. You know that about me. Man, I can't stand a bully. And man, I guess I probably shouldn't say this. I'd love to hurt them.
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't, but I'm gonna say
Well,
it.
that's righteous anger.
Yep.
I mean,
And so a lot of that stuff now, and that's why I pretty much kind of spent 30 minutes talking about parents and internet safety and stuff. But I mean, these groups that are out there are organized groups, especially the sextortion groups, and I just named one earlier, that they are absolutely making a fortune by exploiting kids to take nudes and send them to them. Not even kids. I mean, adults as well. You've got someone that's professional, and they took a picture they shouldn't have taken and sent to these people, and now they're using it against them. College students, sorority fraternity, kind of, you get the idea. But man, these and I use the word predators. These, I guess I should use the word predators instead of another word. They're not going away.
No.
They're not going away. And I know for us at Child Rescue Coalition, we're doing everything we can. And you can look at our website, childrescuecoalition.org, and give it a look. We do have some internet safety stuff there, but from the law enforcement side of it, they have more cases than they have time.
Yeah.
Like they literally, some organizations have quadrupled the number of cases that they have received every year since COVID. Like they have not quadrupled the cases from 2020 to 2026. They quadrupled in 2021. Then they quadrupled in 2022. And the funding is not there anymore. The funding hasn't been increased. You have the same number of investigators trying to do all of this work, and the cases are just out of this world. How many they have right now?
Well, and I feel like because it's taboo to talk about some of this stuff, it's dangerous because, like, I just looked when you said 764, we did a story on how the FBI was warning Mississippi residents of 764 terrorist groups targeting children online. That was May 29th of last year. So the problem is, if you say 764 to most people, they're going to be like, I don't know, is that like 6'7"? Is that like something the kids are saying? Like, what's that? And the truth is, it's because nobody's out there being like, hey, guys, there's a thing called 764, and that's, where these kids are getting online or people are getting online, talking your kids into stuff they should never do. And I'm used to this phenomenon, for lack of a better word, because when I was writing about gangs, it was crazy how many people are like, well, you must be a racist because we don't have gangs. And it's just because municipalities didn't want to talk about it. They would tell their police to be quiet about it, whatever like that. So I had people telling me I was crazy. That doesn't exist. But I'm looking at hard data. And I feel like that's what is going on in a lot of cases with things like this, because it's so hard to talk about and it's so taboo to talk about. And when you get in a group of people and you say, hey, guys, let's talk about the dangers of CSAM, and everybody's like, shh, gah. I feel like that is working against us every day.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are living next door to us. They are shopping. And look, back in the day, we used to have, the Chester the Molester, that look. They had that look, that little twinge or whatever. Or there was some, socioeconomic class or age or no. There's no profile for these guys. My very first case, small town Mississippi, this person that I think like their grandfather founded this city. They were like the pastor at whatever church it was there. This 70-year-old man was born and raised and baptized in this church, in this community, 70 years old, and he was downloading child sexual abuse material.
Yeah.
And when I went to the police department and met with the chief, I told him the guy's name, and he said, there's no way. There's no way. And I said, okay. I said, we're not accusing, we're going to call him Mr. Smith. We're not accusing Mr. Smith. We're accusing his internet. We know someone used his internet. We got to figure out who it is. So I went to the judge to get the search warrant signed, and the judge was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. said, yes, sir. But we got to do an investigation. So get to the house and do the search warrant. And the man had a pile of child sexual abuse material saved on his computer. And at the time, just at the time, it was a season of the Attorney General's office. Cyber actually changed that. The season at the Attorney General's office is if you arrest someone, you're on a time crunch. You have 350 days, however many days it is, 280 days, or less than a year. I know I'm going to be corrected for that.
Yeah.
Less than a year to have them indicted, so get them to grand jury. Well, at the time, our forensics backlog, we were working so many cases. Our forensics backlog was a year, 14, 16, 18 months. That was our backlog.
Wow.
So we
Yeah.
were having speedy trial issues. So to keep from getting speedy trial issues, if you did a search warrant and the person admitted to it, you would take their electronic evidence and we would go back and indict them later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just so you weren't on that time crunch, because we had a backlog where we're just pumping cases out. So we didn't arrest the guy. I took all his electronics, and the next day, this was right before Christmas. The next day, his daughter, who was an adult, she's my age, she called me and she's like, hey, my dad just came home. We kicked him out last night. This man's 70 years old. My mom kicked him out last night, and he just came home and we're all scared. He just went in the garage. And I said, call 911. So they called 911, and she called me a few minutes later and said the man had committed suicide.
Wow.
He went in his garage and killed himself.
Yeah.
So from the law enforcement side of it, you have got to be very, very careful with these suspects.
Sure.
We have story after story after story of these guys. And so that was my very first case. And when I worked that case and I really kind of sat back and looked, I was like, there are devils among us. They are so close to us, and we got to get everyone we can out of here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and to kind of wrap up a little bit, Amanda, I want to touch on something that we've talked about before on the podcast, just that so many of these predators, it's a result of something that's happened to them. And I can't remember which case we were talking about when that came up, but you said you talked about that.
Yeah, a lot of times whenever I have arrested someone for a hands-on offense, it has come out in the interview or later on that they have been victims of something prior.
Yeah.
And whether that be a victim of a sex crime, or they grew up in an abusive home, or, something like that, there was a lot of times you can like pinpoint that one thing that changed the trajectory of their life. But like Jay said, there are devils among us. I believe that this type of crime is pure evil.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to explain it. And I think that these people, sometimes their prison is the very thing that might save them.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I asked that question is because we live in a world right now, and you guys know it as well as we do, that it's like they want the bad guy to be the good guy, and they want the cops to be the bad guys. And admittedly, every now and then you have cops that are bad guys, but overall, we have a world that wants to say, oh, but look, he was abused. So let me put it this way, guys. You may think that your damage drove you to have these feelings. It's going to cost you a lot less to go to a therapist than it is to pay your bond, pay your attorney, and spend the rest of your life in prison. So you're having these issues because something happened to you. Go talk to somebody before the problem starts.
Yeah. So can I just add to that?
Sure.
Because that's a great statement. So if you were abused, we're sorry. That's
Absolutely.
horrible. If you are going to, remember how you felt when it was happening to you. And if you don't quit, law enforcement is coming, proudly coming, and we are going to send you to prison. Make no mistake about it, and we make no excuses for it. We are here on this earth to protect these kids and to put you in prison. So stop. If you need help, go get help. Please go get help. If you're a parent, do everything you can to protect your kids. If you're a predator, stop it, because law enforcement's coming.
And I feel like you said, Therese, where people want so much for law enforcement to be the bad guy. Well, just like you want to hold law enforcement accountable for the bad choices they make, these predators also need to be held accountable for the bad choices they make, even though they were abused, whether they were or were not. So it doesn't matter who you are, the choices that you make. Everyone has to be held accountable at some point. There has to be some type of standard or some type of justice system to answer to.
Well, and I got to bring Jesus into it.
Amen.
And Jesus said that it's better that you have a millstone hung around your neck, and those are big, a millstone hung around your neck and you be thrown in the ocean than that you bring harm or cause one of these children to fall away. So that said, like, we're not just telling you law enforcement's coming, we're telling you God's coming, if that's you. Amanda, closing thoughts?
No, I just love whenever we talk about something, one, that I know about.
Yeah.
And two, that's just really close to my heart. I think that this is something, a continued conversation that needs to be had, and people need to stop like sticking their head in the sand because they don't like the words, that the words are offensive to them.
Right.
Well, I get offended when I have to work these types of cases and look at the evidence that I have to look at. So,
well, and you have to ask, are you offended or are you scared?
right.
Does that word scare you? Does it make you uncomfortable? Or are you actually offended? And if you're offended, I hope it's for the right reason, which is nobody should do that to those kids.
Yeah.
So, Jay,
Heck yeah.
what are your closing thoughts as we get ready to let you go to your HOA meeting?
Yeah, HOA meeting is going to be fun. I think we've pretty much, in the last, I would say, hour, I think we pretty much laid it on the line.
Yeah.
I think we've put it all out there. I think we've given some great advice. We've learned from each other, which is what we do every day. And we've given some parents some things to do, to think about. I think we've put it out there. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I think we've done it.
Good. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you will look us up on all our social media platforms. Follow us there. We have merch if you want to go to our link tree. We do all the things. Look for Investigation Homicide. Follow us on our YouTube channel, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week on Investigation Homicide.